These books will self-destruct in 2025. Hello friends and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a video that I'm very excited to do because I've seen a ton of creators start this challenge and do this type of video. However, the one I most recently did watch was Mel at Eleanor Reed, so I'll go ahead and link her particular video down below. However, I have been prioritizing my physical TBR over the last honestly the last 2 years. I feel like I've been doing pretty good at prioritizing it. However, we're kind of at a point where I have gone through the books that I am really excited about, and I'm kind of left with the things that I'm genuinely so intimidated by. There are a couple things that I have just let sit too long that are also on this list. However, I went ahead and picked 10 books of various things, whether they are things that I have been just staring at and I just keep putting off because I'm really intimidated, or now I have intimidated myself because I keep looking at them. Regardless, if by the end of 2025 I have not read these books, we're gonna unhaul them. So we will circle back to this video at the very end of 2025, potentially next bookmas, assuming I do it again, which I've been having really fun doing it so far. So I'm assuming that we're going to do it and we will circle back to it then. However, for now, let's talk about the books that are on this list. The first book, Empire of the Vampire. I have had this book for a hot freaking minute. I think I got it when, I want to say I bought the hardback pretty close to when it first published. I've had the book for a really long time and I just hadn't read it. And then Lachlan at Locke's Library, she posted about, I want to say it was maybe when she posted about pre-ordering Empire of the Damned. And maybe she went back and reread and annotated, I don't know. But she kind of hyped it up and I was like, wait. So then I got on Pango. I ordered the Barnes & Noble special edition because it was so pretty and I do like that color. So I went ahead and ordered that. And then it is sat on my TBR since then. It has a little shelf at the very top of my bookshelf that it just sits and stays at. And it has been there since I ordered that. So it's been a hot minute. It is time to get this book right on out of the way. I do have the audiobook. I listened to about 10 minutes of the audiobook a couple months ago and I was like, wait, there was just a lot of things happening. So I think it's going to be one that I have to sit down and read at least the first bit physically to kind of set the scene, and then maybe I can switch back to the audiobook. But regardless, this book has to be read, preferably sooner rather than later, but ultimately by the end of 2025, if I have not read it, I have to get rid of both of those copies because your girl just needs to get to it and I need some peer pressure and some consequences to my inaction, if you will. The next book that is on this list is Binding 13. Okay, I have also had this for a hot minute. For my birthday last year, so it had been last July, about a year and a half ago, I bought the special editions, the pretty sports covers of the whole series. I have proceeded to not read it at all. I should kind of read it sooner rather than later, right? If I'm going to keep the special editions, I should kind of read it. A thought. I got the traditionally published, re-released business or whatever. I got the first book a couple months ago because I didn't necessarily want to read out the pretty special editions. I've still not read it. And I've heard so many people absolutely love this series. And I desperately need to see if I'm one of those people. I hope I'm one of those people. I think ever since Destiny said, well, what really went off about really liking this book, it was on my TBR. So I added it and I need to read it. Which brings us into the next book. Speaking of Destiny said, well, Magnolia Parks. I have read the first two books. However, there are two more. I've read Magnolia Parks and then the first Daisy Hates. I need to read the second Magnolia Parks, second Daisy Hates. I do own those four, and then everything else. Obviously, there's now a third Magnolia Parks book. So like, this series has been developed. I need to continue on in the series. Else, I need to unhaul the series because it is currently just taking up space on my physical TBR. I'll go ahead and link the vlog where I read the first two books. The more that I sit on it, the more that I'm like, wait, did I like it, or did I just like that I read it? I don't really know how I feel about that series still. So I think I need to continue on and read the next Magnolia Parks just to confirm my thoughts. And then if I really don't like that book, then it is time to unhaul the series. However, I need a push to make myself actually do that. So what's going on this list? Okay, the next book. This one's a little bit different than others because it's not one that I'm necessarily intimidated by, but it's one that I genuinely just haven't made myself get to yet. It is By a Thread by Lucy Score. I was able to get one of the previously indie copy version at Second and Charles, so I snagged that up and I was so excited about it. Put it on my shelf. Didn't look at it again. Though I am really interested. I've heard that this book is a bit more slow burn which I love. And I feel like I'm really going to enjoy this book, but I have to pick it up. And I also feel like I could either really enjoy it or I'm gonna hate it. And this book has now made it onto several yearly TBRs, and I've not. This book was on my 24 and 2024 list. So if I don't get to it by the end of 2025, it is past time to call it. This next one, I'm not sure what the title of this book is off the top of my head, and I forgot to look it up before I sat down to film this. I'll put the cover of it here. But the third book in the Prison Healer trilogy. I read this trilogy at the beginning of this year, and I'm pretty sure, I think, I listened to the audiobooks for these, and they were so good. The first book had me absolutely like, what is happening here? I'm not someone who really enjoys YA series very often, but this is definitely a series where the plot was so interesting to me that I was very much so invested. And I would like to continue to be invested. And by finishing out this series, I had the plan initially to finish this third book this year. I don't think that's gonna happen. I do want to finish out the series, but if I end up not finishing the series, I think it is one that I just need to unhaul because I'm obviously not finishing it. I'm not gonna read it. So I think having it on this list is going to be a really good plan to make sure that I A, finish it, and B, unhaul it and let somebody else enjoy those copies if I don't necessarily need them. I need to sneeze so bad. Yeah. 10 out of 10. The next book on this list. Okay. Icebreaker. I got this book actually Bookstagram giveaway. I guess it would have been early 2024. However, I had put this book on my wish list because I had seen so many people talk about it. I was kind of interested in it, but I wasn't necessarily like, ooh, that's a rush. So I put it on my wish list. I wasn't necessarily going to buy it, but if somebody else bought it for me, darn the luck, I might just read it then. And I've not read it yet. I can't decide if I feel like I'm gonna like this book, but I really just want to be in on the lore. I feel like so many people talk about certain scenes in this book, and I'm like, haha, yeah, me too. So I would really like to know what people are talking about, and I would really like to be able to appreciate the pure chaos that this book supposedly is. Okay, another book in a similar vein, and then we'll switch back to more epic fantasies that I have. Archer's Voice. I know that this is a lot of people's absolute favorite book in the entire world, and I haven't read it yet. Emphasis on yet because in 2025 we're gonna read it. Else we're just gonna unhaul it because I do now have the Pretty Collector's Edition and the paperback version. So I gotta get to moving on that book, and if I don't, we unhaul it. Okay, back into some epic fantasies. We have 3 more on this list. Oh, 2 epic fantasies and 1 lit fic. We'll talk about it. Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. I, if you would have watched my unhaul, you would have watched me talk about how I was gonna potentially unhaul Priory because I DNF'd Priory, but I needed to read Day of Fallen Night and make sure that I didn't like that before I unhauled Priory. I've not read it yet, so I definitely need to read it by the end of the year. I'm thinking that I'm not necessarily gonna love it, but I'm also curious enough that I do want to try it before I just unhaul it. So regardless, if I get to it by the end of this year, great. And if I don't, then it will be somebody else's to enjoy. And then we have the 5th season. Okay, I heard some really good things about the 5th season, and I don't know what they're talking about because I haven't read it yet. I do have the full, I think I have, what is this technically a trilogy? I think it's technically a trilogy, and I have all 3 of those books. I ended up getting it Second and Charles a couple, probably a year ago. Good Lord. I got them for like super cheap, and they had all 3 books, so I went ahead and got all of them. And I've not, again, they went on my shelf to die, and they have not been picked up since. So this is definitely a series. At minimum, the first book. I'm only including the first book on this list, which is kind of dumb when you think about it, because if I have the first book on this series and I don't read it, then I do have to end up unhauling the whole series anyways, but it's fine. So the 5th season, I'm very intimidated by, but I feel like by the time that I read it, I'm going to really enjoy it. So it is going to be on this list to give me some extra peer pressure to actually read it. And then the last book we have, Normal People. I have not read Sally Rooney before. I am very intrigued by Sally Rooney and her as an author and just as a writing style. I know that's a very different writing style from a lot of other books. However, there was a quiz kind of thing going around on Bookstagram a couple, I don't know, it was probably like eons ago. I don't know why I just said it like that. This quiz, right? It was a quiz basically that was like, which fictional character are you? And I got Marianne, and I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a bad thing. And I'm not gonna know until I find out. I did go ahead and get this book whenever we went to Nashville with some of my book besties, and I have it stamped from a cutie little bookstore. So I really don't want to unhaul it, but I've also not read it yet. So, me not wanting to unhaul it, maybe that will be enough to make me actually read it because as of now, I've not even remotely touched it since I bought it. And I feel like I should fix that. Anyways, that is all of the books that I need to read by the end of 2025, or else I will unhaul them. I'm very curious to see how we'll do. I only put 10 on this list, which I also feel like 10 is quite a bunch, given that I'm also going to be doing a 25 and 2025 list. So we'll see if I get to any of these, and if I don't, we'll circle back. We will genuinely see how I end up doing. Regardless, if you've made it this far into the video, leave a Christmas tree emoji because the first thing that I saw outside was a tree. And I'm really bad at picking emojis for these videos because the last like 8 videos have been like, leave a red heart, leave a black heart. So how about a tree? Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I will catch you in the next one.